This is the new Sync4 media screen that you're going to find inside of the Lincoln Corsair. And I've got to say, it looks really, really nice. Like, I love what they've done with this. Beautiful. Now, a few things. This is the same screen you're going to find across the entire Corsair lineup. But one big difference is that the one I'm sitting in is actually the Grand Touring model, so it's the hybrid. So if you have the gas version, you're obviously just not going to have departure comfort, charge settings, and a few other things, but all the other features are going to be the exact same. So let's dive into it. Along the very top, you've got your home icon. So whatever other screen you're on, you just press the home icon there, and that's just going to bring you right back home again. Clock along the very top, so you can adjust your clock settings there if you want to. You can also get to it from your settings that we'll get into as we dive in a little bit deeper. Moving back, auto cabin refresh, that's available there as well. So auto air refresh and a few other things. So it's actually kind of neat because we can dive into some other settings right from this, which is actually new. That's really cool. So there are some different things that you can jump right into. That's really neat. I love that they've added this in. Factory navigation is going to be standard inside of this thing. And then you can hook up through either Android or iPhone devices on Apple in order to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, or on Android devices in order to use Google Maps. But as I mentioned, factory navigation is standard. You can go full screen instead if you want to. And I mean the screen, super responsive, which is nice. Reset view. Along the very top, you can go for map orientation. So you want to do adjust out to 2D, 3D, etc. Voice. So as we're coming up to turns, do you want to have a voice and a tone? Strictly a voice or strictly a tone? So you've got a few different options. These things are grayed out because I don't have the features enabled as of right now. So you do need to have your connected navigation active. Do we want to avoid certain things en route? So highways, toll roads, tunnels, and things like that. And actually, on the connected navigation side of things, so you do have 3 years of connected services that are built in. So after those 3 years are up, if you don't renew using the Lincoln Way app, what's going to happen is the map is just going to revert to a traditional map instead. So you just wouldn't have the connected services. But connected services are available for 3 years as a new Lincoln owner. You can show different things on maps. So if you wanted to show attractions, coffee shops, hotels, and things like that. And some added settings. So different things for map routing preferences. So do you want 2D, 3D map? Do you want the vehicle to reroute when a faster route's available? And do you want it to confirm or just automatically do it? Honestly, that's probably the best way to go, is just have it automatically reroute when a quicker route's available. It's essentially like using Waze right through the screen instead. What type of route do we want? The fastest or the most eco-friendly? Moving back, you've got breadcrumbs. One of the cool things about breadcrumbs, I always just recommend keeping it on, because as you travel to different locations, you can kind of see as we go through, hold on, let's go to the map for a second. Back. You can see what places we've been. So you've got little dots that are showing up all the way throughout. So that's where this vehicle's traveled to so far. Honestly, I really love this because if you're in a new area, you can log in here. You can kind of see where you've gone. If you're going off-road, you're not really sure where you've been, you can adjust the breadcrumbs out. So it is really, really cool that we've got that available as an option. I always just recommend keeping it on. You could turn it off too if you really wanted to. Predictive destinations, because we haven't traveled anywhere yet that can't predict where we potentially are going to want to be going. Privacy options, so if you want to clear all of this information out or factory reset, we could do that as well. Basic about information, so are you currently up to date? But one thing I like is that even if whatever things we see, if we're not really 100% sure, you can just hit this little information icon and it tells you what it's all about. So predictive destinations, deliver map updates, and things like that. Moving back, is it? Yeah, that's all for the settings. Perfect. All right, next up, searching for addresses is very straightforward. You can go to recent, saved, gas stations, food, attractions, and so many other things. I love it. Let's look for some coffee. All right, and nice and Canadian of me, let's go to a Tim Hortons. I chose one that's a bit further away for a reason. So we can now save it as a destination if we want to. See what parking's available. 4x4 roads, we could also include that. This one is if there are alternative routes that are available. So we can select between the route that we want to take, and then you can hit start there if you want to. You can also circle in and zoom in on the endpoint. You could go back to a split screen instead, or back to your full screen. And then once you've got the route that you want, I'm just going to hit start.
Make a U-turn if possible and then turn right.
Okay, so we have the flexibility now to start driving. You could also add in a waypoint. So if you wanted to stop in between and maybe grab some gas first, we can do that. So it's going to tell us which way we want to go. So we're going to add that to the trip.
Make a U-turn if possible and then turn right.
Straightforward. Pressing this button gives us our full map overview, back to our other view. And then we can also mute out. So if you don't want to get upcoming turns, so that turn-by-turn direction, we can just turn that off if we want to. Or just cancel. You can go to the next step, or you can cancel the whole trip. Now, it obviously gave me the next step option because I had 2 points selected, but if you only had one endpoint in mind, you just wouldn't have had that option. It just would have canceled the route out for you instead. You can go to your recent destinations, so you can see there we've been to a few different places, and then your favorites. So as of right now, nothing's been favorited. So what I'm going to do, let's go here, and we're going to save Tim Hortons as a favorite. So we go back into our favorites now, and you've got this address that's now been saved. So if we go across, so we could, if we want to, just press, and that's going to let us navigate. But if we shoot across to the side, we can delete it, or we can edit it. So if you wanted to give it a personal name, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do that. So if you have different addresses set up for kids, for family, different work and home addresses and things like that, you've got that flexibility, or you can just delete, and it just deletes it that way very simply. But we can search for addresses a ton of different ways. You can type in destination this way if you wanted to type in a physical address. You can search by GPS coordinates, and it's going to go latitude, longitude. So latitude first and then longitude second if you wanted to go that route and search by GPS if you can't find the actual address here instead. But you've got all your basic characters that are available, and then just jumping back home. So very straightforward to be able to use that. Next up, looking at audio. So audio, you've got a series of different sources that are available. So AM, FM, SiriusXM. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, you could also set yourself up that way too. So let's plug in. A few seconds there. 3, 2, 1. And the USB device is now detected. So you've got all of these options that are available. So if we click through to the to the USB device now, as you can see there.
Some good, some food in you. Step 3. Think real hard about what you want to be.
So it's really nice that you've got the option of being able to play USB and other sources that are available. And you can browse to see what's available there, go to your sound settings and things like that, and then changing back to any of these other sources. So very straightforward to use this. And then you can see we've got presets along the very bottom now. So if you wanted to be able to save a station, you could tune a few different ways as well. So you could direct tune this way if you wanted to. I did mention you can also use the voice command prompt on the steering wheel if you wanted to go that route instead. But once you've got the station that you'd like to save, all you're going to do is over one of your other presets, you're just going to press and hold in order to be able to save that preset in. So it's very straightforward there. One thing to point out is that if you look at SiriusXM, that's going to give us a few other options. You can start the song over, which is really nice. You could also give yourself a notification bell. So if you either get the artist or the song coming up, it's going to let you know if that's happened. And then you can manage your artists or song notifications as well. So really nice if you hear a song that you love, you can save it in if you'd like. And then also have your listener history. So you can create an individual listener. Benefit there is if there are multiple people driving the vehicle, you can select your own user profile. You've got your favorites, what you've currently listened to, so your previous history, your different settings for your own unique profile. So do you want to block out explicit content? Tune to start. Tune to start's a useful one, because if you were listening to a station, turn the vehicle off, then turn it back on again, it's going to tune right back to that station there again. And then your preset pages. I honestly always just recommend going for the max possible preset pages. And the big reason why is because if you have, 20, 30 different presets that you enjoy, you can see there along the bottom, mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM as well, which is great. Now, hopping back into sources, you've got a few other options. So let's say we go back to FM for a second. You've got some advanced sound settings. So if you wanted to, you could adjust tone settings. So adjust the treble, mid-range, bass. Ooh, the treble is cranked. Treble down a bit. Bass cranked a little bit is generally a good option, but like reset, that'll be default. So you're just going to go out 3, down by 2, and that's just going to generally give you some really good audio inside of this thing. Moving back, you've also got your balance and fade. So if you're the only one in the vehicle, you want it focused on you, but you can adjust where it's going to be focused. If you've played with it too much, we just reset to bring it back to center again. Speed compensated volume. So as you go faster or slower, it's automatically going to adjust the volume on the fly. Quantum surround sound. Do you want an audience experience or did you want an on-stage experience? And that's just going to give you a more immersive audio experience. That's going to be the basics of the sound settings there. Next up, actually, was that all of them? Oh yeah, it was. Okay. So that's your audio in a nutshell. So very straightforward. Moving back home, you've now got the ability to add in a phone. So let's go through that process right now.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Okay, and all you're going to do on your phone is you're going to go into your Bluetooth settings. Oh, I got to clean this up a little bit. You were just waiting for, so there we go, Lincoln Corsair to show up.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pins match up. Do we want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? I'm going to say no on this one, but I mean, obviously, if it was your vehicle, you'd say yes, and it's paired perfectly.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Okay, so we are connected. Now, 911 Assist came up, and I always recommend turning that one on. The big reason why is because if you're ever in an accident while you're driving, it's going to automatically try to dial 911 for you if you're in a serious accident. So I always recommend keeping that one turned on. Really useful. And then phone also supports CarPlay wirelessly, but we'll get to that one in a second. Because now that the phone's connected, you've got what's currently going on with your connection, your battery levels, and a few other things. Favorites, recent calls, contacts, and things like that. You do have the Siri Assistant and the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. If you do a longer press and hold, that's going to activate your Siri Assistant there instead. So you can see Siri's activated on the phone now. And that's just by pressing the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. So we've got that available as an option. Now, other thing, on your phone, inside of the Sync4 media screen now for the 2023 Plus Corsair, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So all we have to do is hit Use CarPlay, going to Enable, and 3, 2, 1. All we have to do, perfect, we are fully connected. So I love it, and it's nice because we've got the split screen capability, and we can kind of go up and down if we want to see different things. But one really nice thing is that along the very top left-hand side, we've also got this little guy, and we can push out to full screen instead. I mean, look at how beautiful that looks. That's really nice. Really nice, and really responsive too. That's great. Okay, so a few things. This is going to be your technical home screen. So you've got your home screen, and then we've got a few icons along the side. So your icon tray is always going to stay there. You've got your current time on your phone, your current connection level, your battery percentage, and then which map application was open last. So on this thing, you've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze, but let's say if you were using Waze, it switches out to Waze instead. This one is going to be for what radio you're currently listening to, or I should say what music source you're listening to. So the music, podcasts, whatever the case may be. If you're listening to Hoopla, which is, it's more or less just like a library app instead, it's going to essentially update that one. And then this bottom one is going to be a random one. So the random one is essentially going to be things like either Skype, if you have that, WhatsApp going, Zoom, etc. So it's whatever your random icon is. And then this is going to bring you back to the home screen again. So no matter what page you're on, home screen to go back home, or push this in order to get back to your tray icons there instead. So very straightforward, but I mean, all of the maps are very responsive. This is still a little bit of a bug on the Apple side of things, so looks like Apple Maps still doesn't have the flexibility of going full screen, unfortunately, but Google Maps does. It's very straightforward, but the downside is that Google Maps, not pinch to zoom, so we can adjust out this way if we want to, zoom in and out, hit done. You can search for addresses there if you'd like, or go to some other settings that are available. So change your route options, colors, and things like that. Jumping back, other one is going to be Waze, and that's the same idea. So you've got full screen, but no drag and drop capability. You've got to push the button along the very bottom right side, and then you can adjust that way, zoom in and out, whatever the case may be. Searching for addresses, etc. And then back. And then since we're hooked up over CarPlay, you could also press and hold there, and that's going to activate your Siri Assistant there as well. So very straightforward. Now on your phone, if you go into your general settings, you can go into CarPlay, select the vehicle, so Lincoln Corsair. You can toggle CarPlay off. You can have it forget the vehicle, or you can customize the launcher. So let's say if you have a tendency to listen to your podcast more, or you love your audiobooks, you can add those ones in. There are certain ones that you can delete. And when you delete them, it fully removes them from the screen, but it saves it along the bottom. So we could add them back in if we want to, But if you, let's say, played around with it too much and you don't like what you've done, you can go to the very top, you hit reset, and that's just going to bring you right back to your home screen there instead. So it's very straightforward, but I mean, I love it. We've got so many options. You can listen to podcasts, as I mentioned. You can listen to audiobooks and things like that, whether that's through third-party services, if you wanted to listen to YouTube music and things like that, right through CarPlay, which is great. Now, you don't have to be connected to CarPlay in order to listen to audio. You could also just hook up over Bluetooth if you wanted to go that route. So if we go back home for a second, features, I'm going to go apps instead. You've got CarPlay, so you can launch back in that way if you want to. So it's very straightforward. If you were on the home screen again, a little icon there, you're going to push that, and that can also launch you back into CarPlay. So you've got a few different ways that you can get into it. But I know that's quite a little bit of information, but that's how you set up an iPhone inside of the Corsair. Next up, setting up an Android device is the exact same process. So because we've got the iPhone currently connected, what you're going to do, you can go into settings if you want to, look at phone list, and that's going to give you a few options. Now, this is actually a neat one. I'm going to keep the screen up for a second, but what we're going to do, we want to just add in a phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Same idea here. We're just waiting for Lincoln Corsair to show up. Perfect.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
Pins match up. Perfect. Do we want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up?
Please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
Why, thank you. We're going to enable Android Auto right here as well. So same idea. It's working on connecting to Android Auto. Gives us a little flash on the screen to know it's going to be connecting. We're going to continue through. I mean, look at that. 3, 2, 1. We are fully connected here. So we've got our Android Auto here. And same idea. So we've got Google Maps. Nice pinch to zoom capability. So that's one thing that the iPhone didn't have, is that you can actually pinch to zoom Google Maps, which is great. And then very similar to the iPhone side of things, we can also go full screen. So now along the very top, you've got this little icon. You're just going to push that in order to go full screen instead. Really, really nice and responsive. Google Maps, we can press this in order to adjust route options and things like that. And then very similar tray icon along the side. So we've got maps, podcasts or music, your phone, your microphone. So if you wanted to use your Google Assistant, you could do that. Or you can push this to get back out to a split screen, and then you push again in order to get back to this widgeted page instead. So you can select between whatever options are available. So there are quite a few different ones, which is great. But as I mentioned, so this phone does have Waze installed. It's just not available as an Android Auto compatible app as of right now, unfortunately. But so many different other options that are available. You could customize the screen a little bit. It's just not quite as much customization as you would have on the iPhone side of things. But we can press map to get back there, push map to get a split view, go into podcasts, go into phone if you want to, back into map again. So it's very straightforward. Now, I did mention, if we go back home, go into settings, phone list, there are now both phones that are connected to the vehicle, but we're currently connected to Android Auto. So you can either be connected to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. You can't be connected to both, but there are these other icons for phone and music. So let's say if you wanted to use one phone for your phone itself, but the other phone for music, you'd have that flexibility. There we go. So it's one or the other. So you can essentially have one phone for the phone, one for music. You can have the phone not connected whatsoever. You can have one connected for music, both connected, whatever the case may be. So there are a lot of different options that you've got that are available, which is great. I love how simple that is. Really cool. And then if we go phone settings, you've got both phones there, so you can look at some additional settings, so manage your contacts, set ringtones and things like that. Or if we hop back, you can also easily delete devices. So delete, that one's deleted. And then we can also go back in. Let's delete the iPhone. iPhone is now deleted as well. So very straightforward, setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the Corsair. Okay, so phone is now connected. So moving back again, you've got a series of settings, which we'll get to in a moment. So actually, I think that's next. All right, so let's jump back into settings there. So a ton of options available. Radio, we've seen a version of this before. So you've got your radio, different preset pages, radio text and things like that. This will look dynamic based off of what you're currently doing for your audio. So let's say your audio, you're listening to SiriusXM now. If you were to go, I'm going to wait for that to go. If you were to go back home, go into your settings. It's now a SiriusXM button instead. And same thing, we've seen all of these different settings before. You can add in a phone. You've got all of your sync navigation settings. So same idea, we've already seen all of these when we covered off navigation. Different sound settings that we've already seen. So tone settings, treble, mid-range bass, things like that. Different vehicle settings. So 30-minute max idle. Rear occupant alert is a useful one. So especially if you have young kids or a pup in the back. So as you go to exit your vehicle, it's going to give you an alert. It's going to give you an alert and the horn. Nothing's going to happen. And then you can say whether or not a child seat's been installed. So it's a good safety setting to make sure that you haven't forgotten a little one back there or, furry friend, whatever the case may be. But you do have the flexibility of toggling the system off if you wanted to. Easy entry exit. What that means is with the setting turned on and you turn the vehicle off, it's going to lower the seat and back it up in order for you to get out of the seat a little bit easier. Your serial number, remote start. So whether that's through the key fob, if we're remote starting this way. So on the fob, if you wanted to remote start, all you're going to do is press the lock button once and the circle button twice in order to be able to remote start. So you can toggle the system off if you want to. And then if we have remote start going, is it going to let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be? Or is it based off of your last settings instead? Next up, seats and steering wheel. Same idea. Do we want the vehicle determining if the heated or ventilated first row seats or the heated steering wheel should turn on? Yes or no? And then do we want it running for 5, 10, or 15 minutes? Next up, you've got windows. So you've got the flexibility of using the key fob in order to be able to remote open and close the windows. So let's hop outside and I'll show you how that process works. But in order to roll them down, you press the unlock button twice, and then on the second button press, you're going to hold. So we're going to go 1, 2, and hold. Down they go. You can press the lock button to stop it part way, and then just double press again in order to restart. Back down they go. And then you can also roll them back up the same way. So on the key fob there, same idea, but you're going to press the lock button now twice, and then on the second button press, you're going to hold. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. Back up they go. Same idea, you can press the unlock to pause it part way or let it run through the full cycle there again. So that is really cool, and I love that it is right through the fob there for both open and close. So beautiful on Lincoln's part to include that. Moving back, you've got wipers. Courtesy wipe means that if we've got a wipe cycle going, what it's going to do is it's going to wait until the liquid's cleared and then go one more time to make sure no extra liquid's on the windshield. Rain sensing wipers, yes or no, and then rear wiper when in reverse. So if the vehicle was in reverse and our front wipers were going, it would automatically turn on our rear wipers as well. Back up, power liftgate. So you could power mode with hands-free foot activated capability or just a manual mode instead. So if you wanted to manually lift the liftgate up yourself. So you've got a few different options that are available, which is kind of neat because we can go all three. So we can power up, you can go hands-free, or you can just have power instead, which is really useful. From there, also some options for lighting. So auto high beam means that if our high beams are turned on and the vehicle's oncoming, it's going to dim the high beams for us and bring them back up. Welcome lighting is going to be approach lighting on the outside. And then auto lamp delay. So when we go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off? Do they stay on for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or 120 seconds? Next up, options for locks. Auto unlock. So do we want the doors unlocking when the vehicle is parked? Mislock chirp and auto wheel feedback and things like that. So if we go to shut a door and it's not fully closed, it's going to give us audible feedback and let us know. And then when we remote unlock, do all doors become unlocked or is it just the driver's side door? Intelligent access means that as long as we've got the fob on us, you can slide your hand in one of the doors and then the doors automatically go into unlock for us. Backup start passkeys. So what we have to do, set up the Lincoln Way app, and then once the Lincoln Way app is set up, it's going to give you the option of going through and setting up a backup start password instead. So one great thing there is that you do have the flexibility of using your phone as a key once you've got the Lincoln Way app set up. And then if you don't have your key fob on you and your phone's died, you can get into the vehicle using the 5-digit pad along the side view door and then enter in your backup start password in order to start the vehicle up instead. Next up, some different options for vehicle settings. So did mention you can change hours, minutes, whatever the case may be, AM, PM, if you prefer that military time, so the 24-hour mode, and then auto time zone update. So you can see there, it told us what time zone we're in. so we can get it to automatically update the time for us instead if you want to. Personal profiles is a useful one because there are so many things. So what you're going to do is you enter in your name, Bob, definitely not my name, but you can now set up your memory profiles if you want to. So if you have your perfect position set up, memory 1 is now linked to Bob. You can also set it up for your Keyfob, your phone, both. You can link everything into your own personal profile, which is amazing. So that's going to remember all of your settings. It's going to remember your seat, your steering wheel, all of your presets and everything. If you want to, you can also get rid of that. You can go to a guest profile there instead. You can add in more profiles. There are a ton of different options that are available. So I love that you've got the flexibility, or you can just turn personal profiles off. Honestly, if you've got multiple people driving, it is really useful because, like I said, you can have all of your presets set up, your phone and things like that based off of your own individual key fob, which is amazing. General settings, so do you want to go either English, Spanish, or French? You want to go Celsius or Fahrenheit? How do you want it measured out? So either miles per gallon, kilometers, etc. Tire pressure, do you want a PSI or bar? Touchscreen beep, so the beeping that we get as we move through. If that drives you nuts, you could technically turn off that beep if you want to, and then you can reset the vehicle on top of that. Moving off to the side, display settings. So when as big, as bright, as beautiful as this thing is, you could go to a calming screen instead if you want to. There is a button down the center stack. We could also press that in order to turn on the calming screen instead. You can adjust the brightness that way if you'd like. And then you've got the mode setting. So technically this is the daytime mode because of how bright it is outside, but you can permanently lock it into either the daytime or the nighttime mode. So it just darkens the screen up a little bit. Auto mode means it's going to flip us between day or night, just depending on how bright it is. Driver's seat. Now this one you may or may not have. So this one has the optional 24-way massage chair seats. So it gives us a lot of other flexibility. Like there are some different ways that we can adjust the seat along the driver's side door, but there are so many other ways and like different things that we can adjust. You can adjust the butt cushion to be a little bit more comfortable for you. You can have the seat hug you a little bit more if you want to. You can adjust individual parts of the lumbar support, upper back, lower back, or you can turn on massage capability with a few different options. So upper rolling, lower rolling, circular cushion. You can select how intense you want the massage to be as well, or you can just turn it off. So it's a really, really useful one if you go on longer distance trips. I always recommend turning that one on. It's just really comfortable. But that's the same for the driver and the passenger side. Connectivity is where we're going to go to. Big one here is change our vehicle name. So if you wanted to set it up for, rather than having Lincoln Corsair to be your own unique name, that's where we're going in order to make it happen. So it's very straightforward. So under connectivity, Bluetooth, vehicle name, you can change out your vehicle name that way, or you can turn Bluetooth off completely so you can't connect your phone whatsoever. Connected vehicle features. So do you want to share your telematics, vehicle analytics, and things like that with Lincoln? That one's a matter of preference. I personally turn it off, but that's going to be a matter of what you'd like to do. Wireless app projection with different options for password and security and things like that. And then your Wi-Fi network. Do you want to connect to a network at home? I definitely recommend that, especially when you look at your software updates. So you want to make sure your updates are turned on. And big reason why is because this can take a long time to update the vehicle for us, like sometimes 3-4 hours. So you can schedule it to come on at a certain time of the day. So it's automatically going to download the update file and then install it for you as well. Vehicle hotspot. So this thing does have the option, I should say, to act as a wireless hotspot for up to 10 devices. We can toggle the system off if we want to, but if the settings turned on, we can look at data usage, different settings that are available as well. So if you wanted to edit things out, like your hotspot visibility, the name, the connection password, and things like that, you've got that flexibility. Now, one thing about the vehicle hotspot is that you do need a data-only plan in order to be able to get started. So in Canada, I believe that's through the Bell network, but you do have that available. So you can connect, activate, or you can manage your current connection as well. So it is really neat that you've got that available as an option. If you've got multiple people that are going to be in the vehicle, it is a pretty useful one to set up. Also some options for Lincoln Assistant. So when you press the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, you see there, you've got a ton of different options that are available. But we can also have it listen for a wake word. So rather than pressing the voice command prompt, we can get it to listen for, "Okay, Lincoln." And you can see there, it opens this up instead. So you've got that option. So advanced mode means we won't get as many notifications as we go. Phone confirmation. Do you want to call such and such person? Yes or no? Your command list is this list that pops up. So whether or not that one shows up is a matter of preference. And then your command help. So this is just some of what you can do with this. So I love it because we can adjust the climate if we want to. We can adjust our media, navigation, phone. There are so many different options. So I honestly just recommend when you get your Lincoln, sit in it for a little bit and learn the voice assistant, all the different things you can do, because it is really, really nice what you can do. Different options for ambient lighting. So ambient light does show in different parts of the vehicle. Yellows, purples, greens, oh, that's kind of neat. And then you can adjust the intensity by dragging up and down there as well. Next up, 911 Assist, which we've already seen that one. You need to have a phone connected in order for that to work. And then Valet mode. So if you enter in a 4-digit number, it's going to lock out the entire screen so people can't use it until they re-enter that 4-digit number. It's going to be a matter of preference whether or not you use that one, but it's a pretty nice safety setting. Next up, series of different features that are available. You've got driver assistance and a ton of options. So the auto hold setting, with that one turned on, if the car's in drive, you come to a stop and then take your foot off the brake, the vehicle's not going to move. Adaptive cruise control gives us a few options. So you can either set it for normal cruise if you want to. Adaptive, you've got lane centering, in-lane positioning, different prompts and things like that. So the adaptive cruise is a really nice one because it's that set in forget it cruise. Lane centering means the vehicle is going to keep us perfectly balanced in our lane as we go. Lane, what's the other big one? Lane change assist. So once you're, I believe it's over 40 kilometers or 50 kilometers, okay, it doesn't say. So it's over 50 kilometers an hour, I believe. But as long as you're over 50, you hit your left versus right. And as long as the lane's cleared, it's automatically going to move you into a different lane instead, which is amazing. Predictive speed assist is if the vehicle recognizes your current road speed, and then let's say if we have tolerance of 0. So let's say you're going 60, and then the road speed goes from 60 down to 30, and it recognizes it, it's automatically going to lower you to 30 instead. But we can select how many kilometers or miles per hour we can go over, under, whatever the case may be, without it adjusting for us. So really, really neat that you've got that as an option. You can toggle that thing off if you want to. It's just a really nice one to actually have on. Moving back, driver assistance. You've also got speed limit assist. So if you're going too fast, it can give you a warning. Lane keeping system works 3 different ways. So way number 1, if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge the steering wheel. The aid is going to nudge you back into your lane, and the alert and aid will do both. So you do have to make sure that that's turned on using the button on the tip of the left stick. And then the intensity of the steering wheel shake when it does happen. From there, pre-collision assist. So if we're potentially going to get into collision, the vehicle can help us with braking. And then evasive steer assist essentially means that the steering wheel is going to go into like a hypersensitivity mode in order to be able to stiffen things up and get out of the way of a potential collision a little bit easier. Oh, that's the one we were just in. Or you can turn that system off as you saw there. Rear view camera delay, blind spot system. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight orange in our side view mirrors, letting us know of a potential collision. Cross traffic alert. If somebody's coming perpendicular from us as we back up, so from the left or right, they're going to let us know of a potential collision, and then it can actively brake for us as well. And then same idea, we can turn any of these settings off if we want to. Next up is access. Big one there is just the charge port light. So very useful if you've got the hybrid because you can see how much charge you've actually got on the outside. Departure and comfort's a nice one. With the hybrid version is where you're going to get this setting. So let's say if you tend to leave the same time every day. So I don't know, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. And when you leave, you want the vehicle to be nice and cool. You've got that as an option. So you save in. And what's going to happen is it's going to automatically precondition the vehicle to be nice and cool for you at 7 o'clock a.m. And then same idea, you can adjust it that same way. So let's say if you leave work at 5 o'clock p.m. every day and you want it maybe a little bit medium, you've got that flexibility. So at that time, vehicle's automatically going to be either hot or cold just based off of whatever you've selected there. You can clear all if you want to. And you can select multiple days, multiple times, and things like that for each one, which is really, really cool. Next up are going to be charge settings. So charge settings, you can see currently charging up and we're at 18% as of right now. So we started charging at 12:46 and it's saying that it's going to be 100% charged at 4:09. Different charge locations. This is a really cool one. So the bottom here, you can see departure and comfort. We can hop back in or charge locations. So let's add one in. This is our current location that we're charging. We can name it however we want to, but we can select the charge. So from 50 to 100%. So how much do we want the vehicle to charge up at this specific location? And then once we select that, we can select our charge windows. So let's say we don't want to charge until, I don't know, between 4 a.m. and 7 p.m. You've got that flexibility. You can adjust out from there if you want to. You can select 2 individual charge windows as well, or you can just go the whole way. You can delete, just do a drag and drop. So when do you want this thing actually charging? So if you wanted to charge later on at night, you do have that flexibility, which is really, really cool. So if you want to charge when electricity rates are going to be a little bit cheaper, you've got that flexibility. If you hit continue, it's going to give you a display of what you've done. If you hit save, it saved it up. And that's one really cool thing, because like once we have our charge location set up, we've got the flexibility of selecting whether, like what day, what time, whatever the case may be, that this thing is actually charging. Really, really useful. You can see what's going on with your power flow, really just a little bit of graphics. So you can see that we're currently charging up, which is kind of neat. Back from there, you've got a digital owner's manual. So if, let's say this video didn't give you all the information that you're looking for and you need that one specific thing, like maybe you're getting a wonky message on your cluster screen, or if you want to know how often you should be doing oil changes, you can hop in and then it's going to give you all the different options that are available there. So you can do a search by looking there, visual searches, videos, and things like that. All of your climate control settings are along the very bottom. So you can see driver passenger side, heated ventilated seats. This is going to look slightly different just depending on what different options you've got available inside of your vehicle. Where you can see there, adjust there. If you leave it, it'll go away. Same idea, driver passenger side, we can go heated ventilated, drag up or down to go for those options instead. Same idea with your dual zone climate control. What temperature do you want it set at for the driver and for the passenger side? So different options that are available there. Do you want to turn on your heated steering wheel? What do you want your fan speed to be? Do you want it going to your windshield face feet? Some sort of combination of all the above. Do we want to run the auto air refresh there instead? So you can see there, we can force a refresh as well. Drop that down, max windshield defroster, rear window defroster, turn on the air conditioning. And then actually one other thing, if we're in this mode here, and if passenger side is set something to something different than the driver, if you hit dual, it's going to default the passenger to whatever the driver side is as well. Or you can just toggle the system off there if you want, easily toggle it back on, and then drop back down again. So I know, quite a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the new Sync4 media screen inside of the Lincoln Corsair.